Today, I'm here to introduce you to Maester. I got not the nice video as Rob had on the main stage earlier this week, but I think I have the goods and also some nice things behind that. Before we get started, again, thank you to our sponsors to make this possible. Also, thank all of you to being here, making this conference possible. Otherwise, we speakers would be very alone. And a few words to myself. I'm Fabian Bader. I work as a cybersecurity architect at Glucania. My day-to-day business is everything in Azure, Entra ID, and security that is related to Microsoft. Earlier this year, we released Maester as an open source test framework, mostly thought for Entra ID. And Meryl had the honor to do this at the PowerShell conference or the DevOps conference in the US, and I'm now here to have the same honor in Europe. And what we did there is that we wanted to create an easy way that you can test your online environment for security best practices and check how your security posture is without the need of having to create everything yourself and just use already built-in tests as well as build your own. But how did it all started? So sometime late last year, Meryl contacted me because there's a new Graph API endpoint, and with this Graph API endpoint, we finally can test conditional access. And we were both very excited and thought, okay, it would be really cool to build something that can test your conditional access policies live in your environment and see, is your break glass account excluded, or is it maybe blocked by some funny policy that you forgot to set up correctly. And so it all started with some Pester tests because we thought, hey, Pester, perfect. That's how we should test, because why build something completely new when you have something already great out there? And then we created the first 10, 12 tests and thought, okay, why stop here? Why not broaden the scope and go more deep? And that was when we also got Thomas Mannheim, a colleague of mine, involved, because he has already released a lot of Entra tests. They are called Entra ID security analyzer tests. So we already had a good foundation there and wanted to add on that on top. So when we looked on how we currently have to do checks, so there are doc articles on best practices, there are templates you can use, but for most of the admins out there, it's like a mess because it's so much information and you have to get all these details somewhere. And reading through learnmicrosoft.com, yeah, it's a great resource, but it's also overwhelming if you start here. And we wanted to make sure that this does not happen to you, that you have the emergency, you need your break glass and then run against the wall. And the idea was, okay, let's do something where we can run this on a regular basis, but also just as a one-off. And why is securing all your environment so important? And why is the configuration of your environment so important? So there's a small extract from the Microsoft Digital Defense Report. And most of the attacks that we see out there currently against cloud environments could be protected by basic security hygiene, like using MFA, like trying to not use SMS for MFA, all this stuff. And also misconfigurations, so stuff like you have set up something in a way you might not have intended, and you not even know that you misclicked somewhere, or you have not enabled a best practice security value, can also be an attack vector for attackers. So our use cases are now one-off assessments. So you as an admin or even as a consultant can go in, run this, and have a wonderful report that shows you, okay, this is how the environment currently looks. But For the IPT departments, we would recommend setting up something like a GitHub Action or Azure workflow that runs this like once a day or once a week and gives you a report, and you can now see where is something changing, where is my environment getting red, and using custom tests to be like, okay, this is like something I want to test also, because I know I have set up this graph configuration like that, and it's not yet tested, or it's just something that you in your company want to do, you can easily add. And when we had now widened our scope for the whole Entra ID, we also saw that problem that for many of the regular users, this is overkill. So it's great that we can integrate here, but we must make it as easy as possible to consume for everybody. And let me just show you what we came up with. So in this case, I have already installed the module, but otherwise you can, of course, also do this with install module Maester. Oh, yeah. And now let's get back in my test environment here, PSConf. And there you can see I already have downloaded the tests, but if you wouldn't have done that before, you can just be like, install those tests, and it will download all the current tests that we offer on your machine, and then you can connect Maester. And this, of course, will now hopefully open in the right context. Oh, or I'm already connected. Perfect. And invoke Maester. The ASCII art is now a bit out of shape. Otherwise, it would be nice. And Maester 0.1. And as you can see, by default, it's very clean. So there's not a lot of output from Pester. We have hidden this all from the user. And it's only showing, okay, what I'm currently testing. And in the end, we get a nice report. Let's wait another second. Okay, this takes longer than expected, but either you now have a finished report popping up, or you can even let an email sent to you. So if you have this set up in like Azure Automation and you want this once a week in your email, you can do, and you get all those tests with a easy, passed, failed information. And also when you scroll down, you can also go to like the view detailed test results. And in this case, it will take me to my GitHub repo where I have set up all this. Or when we have run it interactively, we will get this nice HTML report. And for each of those tests that now have failed, let me just filter on that. You can also click on the information and get a detailed explanation why it has failed. And not for everything, but for most of it, we already have information in here on how you can fix it. So in this case, okay, my recommendation is have a block policy for legacy authentication, but you have one user that legacy authentication is not blocked for, and we have recommended actions on what to do next. And this we have for many of those. I think, let me just search for the emergency access. There should be an error here as well. And you get also shown, okay, this is the particular conditional access policy that currently is not configured correctly. You have not excluded it here. And we also include the link directly in the Entra portal, so you can just fix it and run it again and see if everything is now in order. So when we started in April, as I said, we were mostly focused on Entra ID, but after we released it to the community was really awesome and contributed a lot of new tests. And now we have also the first test for Exchange. Azure is also something that is actively worked on. And this is now not only like, okay, this Entra test modules, it's more like, okay, this is your Microsoft Cloud module and you can test everything that is available there. And I hope that we get more and more community-based tests in here and have more coverage over time. But many of you might ask, okay, but why is it called Maester? Anybody got an idea? Oh yeah, over there?
365 plus Pester.
Really good, yeah, no, but it's close. Oh yeah, it's from reference from the Game of Thrones, and exactly like the Masters did in Game of Thrones. They are like this people reading a lot about history and getting all the information and helping the different houses. We wanted to be Maester, your personal guide through this jungle of cloud configuration that has all the documents. Read all the documents and have followed all the instructions and gives you like green, red, and then an explanation on how you can go forward from there. But the Pester analogy, I like it a lot. There's also, of course, the question, why do something new? And of course, it's not new. We still use Pester on our core, but we have set up something on top of it, but in the background, it's still completely Pester. So if we would change the verbosity here and set it to detailed, and I will only run one test, so it's a bit faster, you will see, okay, this is regular Pester with a bit more. And this bit more is because we thought many of the regular users, they are afraid of a result like this. And they cannot really comprehend what has gone wrong. And even if we have like the because state and everything in Pester, it's not super easy for somebody that is not keen in PowerShell or even the cloud to see why that is, why there is an error. And I really liked Chrissy Lemaire's comment on that when she was writing the DBA tools. She had like, I didn't like this wall of red in PowerShell. So you do something wrong and it's immediately screaming at you, no, don't do it. And they changed everything mostly to more warning-based output. So it's more friendly yellow. And that is why we, by default, hide all this red from the user and only have a report that they actually can use. And we hope that is really easy to use for them as well. Let me just switch back to the other one. Yeah. And with all this additional information we provide in there, really helps on a day-to-day basis for somebody who is not super technical into the whole PowerShell thing. That is exactly why we have built this whole report around it. And that's a bit of what I wanted to show you as well and how we build it. So let me switch over to VS Code for a second here. Each of our tests that we run is as every Pester tests defined. So we have different tests here. You can see, okay, there's a test empty CA all app exists, and this should be true because there is no policy. So this is like the Pester way of defining a test. And within those functions that we call, we now have the ability to add more description. This can be either done as here, like inline, or we even have the ability to use a Markdown file that is parallel to our function and can be used to like structure it a bit more clearly and remove it from the actual function here. But there are certain use cases where we need it inline. And we not only have like test description that is completely Markdown supported, but we also have the ability to like iterate now through each conditional access policy and only put those that are not good in our test results. And in the end, we always call the add empty test result detail function, and this will put a hash table that we later can then use for creating the report. And this function is really simple, but got a bit more complex over time. So we have like description, result, but also something like we can just send over graph objects. So we already talked to Microsoft Graph, like for users or conditional access policies or something like that. And we can just send over the JSON and say, okay, this is like authentication method, or this is like the diagnostic settings. And this function will then extract the information from the JSON and build something that is more usable in the HTML report later on. And one thing that we found while diving into how we can use all the naming in Pester correctly, because we sometimes have like dynamic naming for certain things. So there's tests that are one test, but a loop through a for each, because we have multiple possibilities here. And there we found that there's this underscore Pester.current_test.expanded name that we can just use. And this is exactly the test name that Pester would use as a display name. And that way we don't have to like provide the test name every time ourselves. We can just, again, rely on Pester. They are doing a great job already. Why not use this information? And as you can see in here, we have different things where we now get information from, like the Markdown path, splitting all this stuff to make it a bit more beautiful. And in the end, we just add this to a global variable, empty session, test result details, each test and the test info. And this is then at the end used to build the report. All right. So we came from like a really simple Pester one endpoint in graph thing, and now we have like over 26 contributors already, over 160 pull requests over the last 2 months, over 1,000 commits, and it's really great to see how this got a big momentum in the community. And we even had people come up to us and tell us that they are allowed to work in their work time on this because they can use it there. So this is really amazing to hear that also like, CEOs or at least managers see benefit in that somebody can contribute back to it. We also have a very nice website. So if you go to the maester.dev website, you will get a lot of information on how you can use it, how you can install it. We have extensive documentation for like GitHub, for Azure automation, all that way is explained how you can set it up. And I don't know who was in the talk about federated identities or authenticating to Azure. That's also something that we highly recommend. Use workload identities for this complete authentication. Don't use secrets. And that's why we have this as our recommended action. And as of this week, we just released a new option how you can consume Pester, and that is through GitHub Actions. So if we go to GitHub Maester 365, there we have our repo, and you now can click on this view on marketplace and immediately use this within your GitHub action without any configuration other than giving a client ID, tenant ID, and if you want to use our public tests. And that's all you have to do in your repo. And that way you will get always the latest tests from us. And if you want, you can also add your own tests within the repo, and then you have like your custom tests in your private repo, and the rest is just downloaded in the moment we run this. And let me just show you how this would look. And there we go. So this is my fun with Pester. I have a workflow file defined, and I have even a mail recipient in here. Nothing more in this repo than this file. So it's just the GitHub action in here. And the moment I run this, it just downloads everything, makes a login to Azure using the federated credential, and then the actual master action is run, downloading all the tests and everything, running the master itself. And in the summary, if you don't want to send you an email that you will never read, you can also have the test summary in here. And at the bottom of that, let me just hop down here a bit. Whoop. You also have the detailed explanation that we have in the normal HTML module behind a click is also here in a long list. So you don't lose any information if you do it like this. It's the same stuff, and we are extending this every day and getting more concrete information, concrete links where you can read about why we recommend this. And yeah, so I hope that when we started, we were 3. Now we are over 25, and it's hopefully after this session, even a few more that feel compelled to use it and contribute to it. And I hope that, we will take this as a call to action. We need your help to extend it to even more parts of the ecosystem. So not even just Exchange or Azure. Maybe you have a service in Azure or Microsoft 365 that you want to have covered, like Azure DevOps or SharePoint. Feel free, come to us, talk to us. Let's do a pull request. And we, of course, will help you if you have any questions on how this all works, how you can build those tests, and how you can add the information in there. And that's where we get to question and answers. Yes, please. Oh, let me just give you the microphone. That's easier.
First question, in the demo, I saw it needs read-write permissions for curl.
Oh, no. We just have read permissions. So let me just show you this in our documentation. So there is a list of permissions that is listed here. And it's a lot of read permissions, but we don't have any write access.
Okay. Yeah, but I saw error messages of warnings appear during the demo. So that's
I have to double check what that was, but normally we don't need any write access. I'd say it can be that we just check for something in there, but it's nothing that we, as for like the read access, need.
Okay.
The role eligibility schedule there that you have optionally.
Oh yeah, this one here. Yeah, that's the only one, but it's optional. But the basic ones is only read.
Okay. And the second question, can you explain a bit what are the advantages or difference with a security score?
A security, sorry?
A security score that is already in.
Oh, yeah. So basically the security score, if anybody does not know, it's something from Microsoft where they also have like recommendations for you in there. And the big difference between Maester and the security score is that, first of all, we have a bit of different recommendations, not in like entirely, but there's more in here for some parts. For other parts, the security score has still more recommendations. And the big idea in Maester is that you can configure it. So what we currently have, like for the emergency access accounts, is something we detect it automatically. But in the future, we want to integrate with something like the PS framework for configuration, that you can set up, okay, those are my emergency access accounts. Those are other configurations. And in many cases, security score is very strict, and you can either be like, okay, now I have to dismiss this and put an explanation around why you dismissed it, but you cannot really change it. Here, the idea is, if you don't like a check because it does not fit your environment, build your own and exclude it from the run. So we hope we are more flexible for companies that are not just like, okay, we can do everything that is in the security recommendations. Yes, please.
Yes. What about other output formats like JSON or something for the reports?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So we already have the basic test results in different formats here. So you have Markdown and JSON in here as well. So let me just open this up. And that way you can consume it and do whatever you like with it.
And exclude tests. You could actually get the whole repository and just exclude tests at runtime.
Yeah, you can. Like I used the tag to include something here. You can also do the exact opposite and just be like, okay, I never want to run this particular test.
An array or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can define more than one, of course. And there's even the option, if you are looking into this and see, okay, that we have like broad categories as well. So if you don't like conditional access tests, you can just exclude the whole thing here.
So, perfect. Awesome. Really awesome.
Yeah, cool. Anybody else? Yeah, please.
Are you also looking into creating specific tests for compliance to recommendations like NIS2?
So currently we have the CISA in there, but it's not really compliance, but it's also more security. But definitely I heard this feedback, I think on Monday as well, is something that we might look into. And if you have anything that you are looking for, feel free to come after me, and we can check out how we could implement something like that. Any other questions over there?
Thanks. I was wondering how is it possible for multi-tenancy for like if you have multiple customers, or do you need to set up? Because I saw something about automation accounts. Do you need to set up automation accounts for each of the customers, maybe?
Yeah, so it wouldn't be like an automation account per customer in that case. It's more about how you handle authentication then. If we are looking like for the GitHub action as an explanation, you could, of course, build a trust between the GitHub repo of you and multiple customers, and then just have the action run multiple times with different tenant IDs. And so in here, when we look in the file, it's just a variable that I'm currently using, but you could actually have like multiple of those variables and run this multiple times. What we currently don't support is that you run it against multiple tenants and get one comprehensive report out of it. It's just one report per tenant. Any other questions?
Have you thought of decoupling the data, where you get the data and the actual test and analyze it? It's just because some organizations, they really don't like code, even though read-only, have access to the data, and they want to see the data that is actually being pulled from the tenants.
Yeah, I see.
So an idea to have a really simple thing that you can actually look to what is the data that is being pulled, and analyze on that data instead of analyzing on the live data.
I don't think that we have discussed this yet, but I see the idea. So having like one part of it that just gets you all the information in like a JSON, and then throw it in there.
In a query on the because then you can have it in two processes, so there's no risk involved and you can just automatically update the tests and everything without any issues at all, because
Yeah, definitely something I will take back with you, Emily, because I think many bigger companies might have.
You can run it also on dark side. You can run so the test won't be able to go to internet or anything.
Yeah. Thank you for the idea. All right. If there are no, there's a person. Perfect. Don't want to interrupt you.
Do you see any possibility to look in the past? So what I meant with that, if we use conditional access, for example, you use the what if API and this looks in the what is today and what is the possible impact on some users or user groups. But do you see the functionality also in Maester to look in the past of 30 days sign-in logs, analyzing them, what conditional access blocks the users in the past? Maybe with a report-only policy.
Yeah, I think we haven't thought about that. What we heard earlier is the need for like seeing how it changed over time. So having the report more like historically in one thing, but checking like log analytics and doing a reporting on that. No, we haven't thought about that yet. What would be your most likely use case for it?
So, for example, in our environment, we have a lot of users, and we creating a report-only policy that's stating, hey, we block all the devices that are not compliant or coming from a trusted location. And we want, for now, it's only report only because, the large scale and external providers and so on, there are a lot of differences between the ID types. Mm-hmm. And we created a report only policy. Now we want to have a number, at least, how many users getting blocked in the last 30 days. And of course, with the log analytics, which is has a maximum of 20,000 users, at least to scope. It's quite hard. So that was the initial idea behind that.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about this a little bit more later. Mm-hmm. I think there are already a few options out there that are not Maester, but maybe I can give you a few hints. Anybody else? No takers? Then I want to say thank you very much for being here today. I hope you get great value out of Maester and try it out in your environment. As I said, it's maester.dev, super easy, and you'll find the repo on GitHub, Maester365. And let me know what you think. Our issues are open, so please, if you find something that's not working as expected, even if you can't fix it yourself, create an issue, and then hopefully we or the community will look into it.